Here we go. Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Wells International Foundation's first ever Thank-a-Thon, online thank. Woohoo! 2018, we celebrated our 3rd anniversary on October 1st. We have done just some phenomenal things, and it's time to go public with our thanks. We've been thanking our donors. I've thanked, obviously, sponsors and people individually and partners individually, but I just wanted to go on record for everybody in the world to say thank you to all of the phenomenal people and all of the phenomenal organizations that we've been working with over the past 3 years, even more, because we started working as the Wells International Foundation. We actually got started before the actual 501c3 was approved. So I just want today to be, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everybody. And the first thing, so I need to ignore, there's a little thing popping up at the bottom of my screen. I'll ignore that. The first thing I want to do is have Deb introduce herself. Deb is my right half of my body, not even, you know, not even my right hand. I mean, without Deb, we would be just dead in the water. So Deb, go tell everybody who you are, what you do.
That is quite an intro. I am half of another person. I gotta make sure my husband knows that. So my name is Deborah Harlow. I've had the honor and privilege of knowing Monique probably for about 5 years. I think my daughter was an infant when we first met. And when she told me she was launching the nonprofit, I was like, you're crazy, but I love you. Let's go on this crazy ride. So, and everything that she's doing is just near and dear to my heart. So anytime she says, hey, we're going to go do this, I'm like, I'm in. How can we make it happen? And that's something that I love about Monique's spirit as well, is she sees the possibilities and she says yes, and then we figure out the how on the back end. And then we see the beautiful effect of things that have happened in all the various places of the world that she's doing things. Mm-hmm. My background is in corporate project management and events. I left corporate when I got married and launched my own business because I wanted to have flexibility to be a mom. And I do team management and development with companies around the world. And I also do high-level coaching for people to find their joy factor. And that's what I do and who I am. And my business is The Joyful Leader. And my passion is working with people like Monique. So when she says that I am her right half, I love doing that. I love diving in and being somebody's biggest advocate and making their dreams come true. And she's got some beautiful dreams. So it's an honor and privilege to be part of the team.
Ooh, that just makes me feel so good.
That's that joy factor we were talking about. I want people to be joyful.
That's right. That's right. So Deb, now you need to help me because I'm supposed to. I want to share my screen, but do I click on something or do you have to do that?
At the bottom of your Zoom window is a button that says share. It's a kind of green button. You click that and then you get to select what you want to share and we will see the magic from there.
Okay. All right.
Voila. C'est magnifique.
Okay, so let me go back. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows who the rest of the team is. So do you see my things moving around or is it stable for you?
It's stable right now. We see Team WIF in Lizzie's picture.
Okay, good. All right, so now something just disappeared on me. Okay, so there we go. Now, so this is Lizzie Law. Lizzie is our virtual assistant, and Deb brought Lizzie onto Team WIF, and I would really actually like Deb to introduce Lizzie because she's known Lizzie a lot longer than I have, and has worked with her in a lot of different capacities.
Okay. Lizzie's a rock star. I love Lizzie. So when I moved to Southern California from San Francisco, and I was a newly expectant mom, I was like, I got to find me some other moms. It was my first time being a mom and wanted to have a community. And when we were looking to buy a car seat, believe it or not, off of Craigslist, She was selling her daughter's car seat, and I met her. And the synchronicity of us being two peas in a pod was immediately there. We both have culinary backgrounds. We both have travel backgrounds. We both were newly transplanted into the Southern California desert from other areas. We didn't have circles of community, and so we immediately bonded. And as she started to develop her own business, we would work together on things, and I mentored her for a while, and she worked with me for a while. And then she's just gone off into doing amazing things with her own business. And because she has a background in travel and culinary arts, and she has a voracious appetite for living, and she loves words, she's an amazing writer and copywriter, and has a powerful gift when it comes to social media. So it was an easy yes when Monique said she needed those tools in her business. I was like, I have the perfect person for you. And obviously, Lizzie has been a phenomenal add to the team, and she brings a lot of passion to the projects that we do with her gifts of words and creativity, and that she understands art and literacy and all of those things and being important to her as a mom as well. So she's a perfect advocate to the team, and her gifts are well appreciated.
Absolutely well appreciated. Thank you. Thank you for introducing Lizzie. I wish she could be here too.
She's with us in spirit.
She's always with us in spirit, always. The next person I want to introduce on Team WIF is Nicole Matusinek. She is not able to join us today either, but she did send a statement that she wanted me to read on her behalf. Nicole is the event planner for WIF's International Women's Day event that we're doing in Paris next spring, next March. And she just wanted me to say on her behalf, thank you, Monique, for sharing your vision and providing an environment of lifelong learning through the Wells International Foundation. I'm grateful and proud to be part of the foundation and your mindful team. And you see us there. We're at the Park Hyatt Hotel, which is where we're going to have our event. March 7th and 8th, 2019. And above our heads, looks like it's actually growing out of my head, is a wall, I guess you call it a sconce. It is actually a piece of sculpture that was done by a French woman named Rosaline Granet. She was commissioned to do all the sculpture in the Park Hyatt Paris Vendôme Hotel. Her work is absolutely everywhere in this hotel. And one of the things we're going to be celebrating during International Women's Day is women in the arts. And so this was just one of those serendipitous things that when we went to the Park Hyatt Hotel, and we really loved it for many, many reasons, it just so happened that they also had chosen years ago to have this French woman, this French sculptress, do the sculpture for the hotel. So my life is full of these serendipitous stories. And I wish Nicole could be here. She's also quite phenomenal. I try to surround myself with phenomenal people. Next person I want to introduce is Kimberly Lane. She is doing the web page and the copy for this Successful Woman, which is the International Women's Day event. And she gave me this big thing to say, so I'm going to read it fast. The practice of finding ways that professional women can help support one another is one of my core values. That's why I'm so thankful that I've been given the opportunity to volunteer as a copy editor and web page designer for the next year's International Women's Day event with the Wells International Foundation. The Wells International Foundation is building an incredible space where professional women can workshop feminist issues as a means of breaking down the gender gap and empowering women to celebrate what we can bring to the table. Just as I was able to volunteer my own hours to help build pages on the website, my experience in working with the Wells International Foundation has empowered me to think more critically about web design and encouraged me to always, always see how helping others is an amazing opportunity to grow, to open your worldview, to learn new things about yourself, and to grow. And Kimberly she is on Team WIF, but she is actually a volunteer. She's a volunteer who came to us through an organization called Catch a Fire. And I'll talk a little bit more about Catch a Fire when we talk more about volunteers later. Next, just very quickly, I want to present our board. Tom is on the line, but Tom does not have a camera on his computer. So this is Tom. And Dawn, you met Tom, but Matt, you haven't. Tom is my husband. Tom, you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Take yourself off mute.
Yeah, hello.
I'm Monique's husband and business partner. We both have a business that we call Discover Paris that we launched about 20 years ago now. And Monique asked me to join her Wells International Foundation team on the board of directors. I've been helping out taking photographs at the events. I show up with my camera, take photographs, and process them. And what else can I? Oh yes, together Monique and I developed the idea of having a Paris Knoxville connection, Knoxville, Tennessee connection. That came out of Monique's Buford Delaney project, and the project was so successful with an art exhibit in Paris of Buford Delaney's works that I thought that there should be we should continue in some way developing on that. And so the city of Paris has a program that links elementary school kids in Paris by video with kids from other countries, and so we joined that. It's called Class Duo, and brought in a school from Knoxville, Tennessee, to where the kids talk with once a month with kids from an elementary school in Paris called Jean Zay. So I was really happy about how that all worked out, and I look forward to continuing to work with that in Paris.
And Tom, you mentioned your photography. Tom is the one who's doing all the editing of those photographs. There's tons of them. And he helps me with the triage of, which ones are good and which ones we should just like leave aside. And then he does his little magic. It's not even little, it's big magic, actually. In Photoshop, and then I upload them to the website once they're done. And we're getting so full of photographs for Class Duo that I'm actually going to have to reorganize the website, because when you do the drop down to see all the photo galleries, they're so long that they go past the bottom of your screen. You can't. Yeah, we really have done so much. I don't know if you guys realize, Matt and Dawn, how much we've done.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
It's just incredible, and it just keeps giving. It keeps giving. So there's going to be a little space where I'm going to show just a couple of pictures of Class Duo. But I want to go ahead and finish presenting the board first. I thought that, okay, Teresa Lloyd is the other person on this particular slide. She is the next oldest, quote unquote, board member. So Tom is the oldest of our board members. He was on the founding board, and he continues to be with us today. Teresa was the first member to join the board who was not a founding board member. And she is passionate about study abroad as well. She is on her particular interest in study abroad is with the University of Arizona. They were that was the university that brought students to Paris to do the augmented reality app for the Buford Delaney exhibition. So much of what WIF is doing now came out of that 2016 exhibition, that I just have to always acknowledge that as well. The next two board members here, we only have 4, so these are the last 2. Mandy joined us next after Teresa. She is based in Houston. She is in, she got her degree in finance, but she's now working in marketing for Dow Chemical. And I have to thank Mandy for helping us to attain a grant from Dow Chemical to support our first dedicated STEAM education initiative. And then we have Chad Everhart, who was our most recent, the most recent person to join the board. And Chad is also Houston based. He is a CPA, and a finance person, and he is helping us with all of that sort of back end stuff at WIF, and he's also very passionate about literacy and STEAM. So those are our board members. And then we come to class duo. So you can remember, Dawn, I asked you if we could use this little stencil.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes in handy when I have to have like a little logo for you guys. That's actually not the Nature's Way sign. I will use this. And so in this picture, you can see everybody, all the educators, except Matt, because Matt couldn't come, all the educators who are working with Class Duo. And this is a photograph that was taken in Paris at Jean Zay Elementary School. And from left to right, I'll name everybody. So there's Margot Andre, who is a member. She works for the CASP office, which is the office that actually coordinates classes duo. And then we have Heather. How does Heather pronounce her last name? Ziegler?
I think it's Ziegler.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Heather Ziegler, who's been helping Dawn. Then Dawn is next to her. And then we have Mary Campbell, who's been doing a lot of the translation for the videos, the video conferences on the Knoxville side, obviously. And then there's me. And then there's Kathy. And is her last name pronounced Weiniger?
Yes, I think, yes.
Okay, so Kathy Weiniger, and she also does some translation sometimes when Mary's not there. And then on the far right, we have Juliette Blasch, who is the educator who works in the after-school program at Jean Zay, and she's the one who is guiding the Jean Zay students through their art lessons, and she's the one who is most of the time on the mic and on the camera when we're doing the video conferencing. She's the one who's corralling the Jean Zay kids and keeping them in good order, shall we say. And this is a picture of all of the children, Jean Zay and Nature's Way, plus a few extra siblings thrown in for good measure, at the town hall of the 14th district, the 14th arrondissement, which is the word that we use for district in France. And this was where the art exhibition was held. And all the kids went and sort of got behind the desk. This is where the mayor of the 14th district would sit. So they've taken over his space. And they're doing some kind of hand thing. Dawn, did you ever find out what that means?
That's the dab.
Yeah, they're dabbing.
They're dabbing.
What is the dab? Because I'm so out of it.
It's a dance move. My little one does it on a regular basis. When you just want to make a point, you just want to dab.
Ah, okay. Well, they did that a lot, and I was clueless.
Well, now you're hip, Monique. Now you know it.
Now, okay. Oh, probably for the next 5 minutes it'll last. Okay.
Right.
And then, not to be outdone, because Matt couldn't come, I wanted to include a picture of Matt because Matt is doing the science part of the Nature's Way program. So whenever we have a lesson that involves STEAM education, Matt's right in there, and there he is. And Matt, I think on this particular day, you were talking about music. I think you talked about the development of the phonograph, and you talked about sound waves, and then you played music by Ella Fitzgerald, and the kids drew their sound waves. Isn't that right?
Yep, that sounds right.
Okay. So they're all looking at you. Most of them are looking at you. And, you know, in looking at this picture, I can see how much the kids have grown just in a few months. It's really incredible how big they are now.
Yeah.
Goodness. So I want to thank you guys really from the bottom of my heart. We could not be doing this without you. And you're just doing a phenomenal job. And I'm looking forward to the next several months working with you through May 2019. And although we have not been able to get it off the ground yet, still, you know, hopeful that we will be able to bring the Jeanne children and perhaps some parents to Knoxville and to Nature's Way so that we can do the flip side, if you will, the reciprocal visit. So do you guys have anything you want to say just about, you know, how being involved in this program?
Yeah, we prepared. We have a couple of statements actually to read to you. So I guess I'll start. And I'm just going to kind of read off my statement. I'm grateful to be part of the Classes Duo program. Classes Duo has exceeded any and all expectations I had for the program. I have enjoyed teaching the art curriculum and seeing the wonderful student artworks. Collaborating with educators here at Nature's Way and at Jeanne on the curriculum has been a rewarding experience. Not only does Classes Duo honor Buford Delaney, but it also unites Knoxville and Paris in a unique vision. The art classes, the Zoom sessions, the STEM or STEAM component, and travel portion has made this program a truly extraordinary adventure for Nature's Way. I've enjoyed being part of this global experience. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, Monique.
You are so welcome. So welcome. Okay, Matt.
Yeah, so sticking with the theme of the Thank-a-Thon, I'm going to start by saying that I'm thankful for being included in this and also just for all the great opportunities that it's provided for our students. I've really enjoyed being involved with the Classes Duo project by providing the STEM component for the Nature's Way students. It's been really fun sharing things that I'm excited about, like soil, jazz, how a record player works. And I look forward to doing more of this as we finish out the project. It's been really nice to work with my current students, but in a different setting from how I normally work with them. And then I've also had the chance to work with younger students who will eventually be in my classroom. So I appreciate having that opportunity. It's been really enjoyable sitting in on the art and the language lessons, which is also something a little different for me. And I've really learned a lot from sitting in on those lessons. Working with Jeanne and Nature's Way staff to organize the lessons, the Zoom sessions, the trip has all been a really enjoyable experience. Really enjoyed working closely with Dawn.
I know, Matt.
Here on this end.
Really
we don't get to work together this much usually, and so this project has really brought us together. The whole thing has really been a community effort. We have, multiple staff members, multiple parents, and a really great group of kids that are involved in this. And I'm just really happy to be on the adventure with all of them. So thank you.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yay.
Yes, yay. Thank you so much. Oh, it's just fantastic. Everything is just fantastic. And I want to let you guys know, I probably have mentioned this perhaps to Dawn, but Matt, I'm sure that you may not know that we want to have at least one scholarly case study written up about Classes Duo. And both, there are two different people that I've spoken with. One wants to write it up from the art perspective, and just how art is bringing people together across the waters. But the other person wants to do it from learning a second language perspective. And so we hope to be contributing to the scholarly literature about education through this program, as well as everything else that is going on. And I actually have a Catch a Fire volunteer right now who is researching what kinds of programs are promoting or actually involved in study abroad, study abroad for elementary school students. It's really, really uncommon that this kind of thing is going on at the elementary school level. So we're groundbreaking in all kinds of ways. And I'm so grateful that you guys are a part of it.
Thank you, Monique.
All right. So let's go on. And I also, want to make sure that you know that if you have to jump off of this call, it's fine. We are expecting some other people to call in, but even if nobody else calls in, we're just going to do this because it's going to be recorded and it's going to be out there. We're going to make sure that the world gets to see this. So let me go on to the next. So now I need to talk about our donors. The Wells International Foundation, or WIF as we like to call it, WIF or WIF for short, we would not be anything truly without our donors. And we have a growing donor base. Deb, did you get a chance to tell Matt and Dawn about the bake sale that Ava did?
I did not. We were just chatting about them being in Knoxville and the classes duo project and everything. Real briefly, my daughter is a huge fan of books about STEM and STEAM and like the Rosie the Riveter books and the engineering and all that. She loves those and has me read them to her regularly. And she knows that WIF will do projects around literacy and art and travel and things of that nature. And so we are a recurring donor where we donate to arts and literacy as part of WIF every month. And we made that decision to say, okay, well, we just won't go out for a snack at Starbucks twice a month. And then that money will very easily, you know, go back to something. And we can still have fun having a snack at home. We'll just reroute the money. And so she was really excited to know that she's a recurring donor. And then she said she wanted to do something bigger. I was like, okay, well, what does that look like? She said, well, Mommy, I need you to go buy books for all the little girls that don't have STEAM books. And I was like, Mommy doesn't have that in the bank. So I said, let's think of another way that we can help give books to everybody that, you know, would like to have a book that normally doesn't have access to that. And so then what came to mind was that over the Thanksgiving holiday, we had a bunch of family in town. And so I enlisted her Nana and her Auntie Heather, and I said, okay, you're now in charge of baking cookies with her. We're going to have an international bake sale. And it was international because I put it on Facebook as a giving campaign. And so anybody anywhere that knew us could buy a cookie, and all of the funds would go to WIF. And so that the cookies wouldn't go to waste, because she baked over 100 cookies, I said, well, where would you like the cookies to go? So she wanted to donate the cookies to the local fire department because they keep her safe. So we took 100 cookies of all different varieties to the firehouse on Sunday, and they were loving it. They were like, oh my God, that's the biggest amount of cookies we've ever had delivered. So she took pictures of the firehouse. But the exciting part is, because we did it going through Giving Tuesday, Facebook and PayPal will match giving. So we knew that we could have people's generosity go farther. And she raised $1,024 with her international bake sale, and all of that money goes to WIF to be able to support arts and literacy and education. So we are so proud of her. She's 7. She wanted to do something that was bigger than what she could maybe have her immediate fingers on, and it was so beautiful to see how everybody else wanted to support that. So we were able to tell her that a small deed can have a large impact if you just tell people what's important to you. You know, people want to give, and maybe sometimes they don't know how. So her international bake sale brought in $1,024 that Facebook and PayPal will match.
Wow,
wonderful.
Yeah, 100 cookies
That's
of
a
the
lot of
firemen.
Yes, yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting to be able to see that type of an impact happen, and to see that, you know, kids really do want to give back. As you well know, you're educators, you see the kindness in kids' hearts. And so sometimes just showing them that there are ways to be able to make that big of a difference is nice. And that everybody was immediately behind her was rewarding as well, to say, oh yeah, of course we'll help you. You know, of course Ava will help you. So it was a really rewarding experience for us all.
Yeah, a beautiful experience for us also, because, you know, it's end of year giving time. And this, and end of year giving for an executive at a nonprofit is a very anxiety producing time. And this was something that Deb just volunteered to do. You know, Deb and Ava just talking amongst themselves, they volunteered to do this. There was no work on my part whatsoever, like zero. And look at the result. And it's just all love and just saying, okay, let's just do something. And it just goes to show that a little can go a very, very long way. And I want to thank Deb once again. I've thanked her a zillion times for this, but I just can't say it enough. It's just beautiful.
Well, my daughter too, she spent an entire day in the kitchen with her Nana and her Auntie Heather, and we had music playing, and they were baking cookies, and it's amazing. Monique and I were talking about it, that everyday activities, if you just kind of tilt your lens a little bit, can turn into so much bigger. So things that she already enjoyed, such as being in the kitchen and being with her loved ones and giving so that other people can have books. It was just a little tilt of the lens to the other side, and she was able to achieve this. And so that was profoundly exciting for me, for her to see that you can have fun while giving. You can have fun while making a difference.
Absolutely.
And those firemen will never forget her because they got a lot of cookies.
So this particular slide speaks to, okay, on the left you see the legacy circle, and on the right you see empower. So the legacy circle is sort of like the emblem or the logo for our major donors, and our empower logo is for our recurring donors. And we have some people who are, we have a lot of legacy circle donors. We're growing our empower donor club, and we do have some people who are members of both. And so this woman, for example, is a member of both Legacy Circle and Empower. She's a new Empower member. She just joined Empower last month. Her name is Dr. Celeste Hart, and she was not able to be on this call today, so she sent a statement that she wanted me to read on her behalf. She's in Tallahassee, Florida. And she says, I first met Monique Wells in 2010. I am an endocrinologist and was visiting Paris for a thyroid conference. I booked a tour through Monique's company, Discover Paris, and it was the highlight of my trip. She introduced me to the work of Buford Delaney, whose work I adore. I subsequently became an enthusiastic supporter of Les Amis de Buford Delaney. So that's the French nonprofit that I founded back in 2009, when I was raising money to place a tombstone at Buford Delaney's previously unmarked grave. So, and she actually donated to that. It was another one of these, yet another serendipitous story, because on this walk that she's talking about, it was just she and I. It's a private walking tour, and one of the stops on the walk, I mentioned another artist named Herb Gentry, whose widow had contributed a painting to support the raising of the funds for the tombstone. And I talked about Herb Gentry and Buford Delaney, and their relationship and everything. And I told her that Herb Gentry's widow was donating this painting to support the fundraising for the tombstone. And so then it was weeks later, the painting was sold on eBay, and I was told to contact the person who won the bid, and it was Celeste.
Wow.
And yeah, and she was like, I just saw that. She said, I love the work. I love the story. I love Buford Delaney. She said, I had to have it. And so she contributed in that way to the tombstone, sort of indirectly, because she knew that she was buying it for that reason, but she would have bought it anyway. And then she became, when we did the actual exhibition, she contributed. She was a major donor to get the exhibition off the ground in 2016. And now she is, she's an Empower, excuse me, an Empower donor as well. So, and let me finish reading her statement. I am so excited about, she says, I have continued to follow Monique's work. I am so excited by her vision for the Wells International Foundation. I share her passion for education and female empowerment. Inspired in part by her example, I have recently opened an art gallery where we feature works by several of the artists Monique introduced me to on that 2010 tour. So, this is just, who would have known? Who could ever know? Deb and I earlier today were talking about legacy, and this is unbeknownst to me. I'm just living my life. I'm sharing what I'm passionate about, and people are touched and they go out and they do things. And I think that's really what legacy is all about.
Leading by example equals legacy.
We're going to have to go ahead and jump off.
Yeah.
It was really nice to meet you, Deborah.
Yeah, it's so nice to meet both of you. Yeah, thank you for doing the work that you do. I applaud teachers on a daily basis. You are phenomenal, and the world needs more beautiful people like you. So thank you.
No,
Yeah, thank you.
Well,
And
thank you
if you
for
guys,
joining us.
yes,
Yes.
and I'll see you on Zoom on the 14th of December.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thank you,
Yeah, see you then.
Monique.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you for joining.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Let's see if I can do this. Wait, don't stop.
There you go.
I'm trying to leave.
Okay. So next thing I want to talk about, and so this is the perfect segue, the story from Celeste and about Celeste is the perfect segue into the Resonance of Form and Vibration of Color exhibition that was held in 2016. I say that it was held, that we organized in 2016, and it really is the sort of fertile ground from which so many of our projects have sprung. The cover of the catalog is here in the center. This is a self-portrait by Buford that was shown at the exhibition. And at the bottom, you can see that it says prolonged until March 15th. We were originally only supposed to have the show up for a month at Columbia Global Centers, Paris, in Reed Hall. And the show was so well received that Reed Hall asked us to extend so that when the trustees of Columbia University came for their meeting at Reed Hall, they would be able to see the exhibition. They actually had their meeting in the space where about half of the exhibition was hung. So that was also phenomenal. And then on the side, I know these pictures are really little, but these are just some snapshots of various things that happened during the 6-week period that the exhibition was up. One of the pictures, actually, the one at the top and the one at the bottom, the young woman who is front and center in the top picture and who I'm standing with at the bottom was WIF's first summer intern. And she interned with us that same summer, and she came to us on her own to say that because she had been so inspired by this exhibition, she wanted to work with us. She said, "I'm going to be here this summer. Would you have anything that I would be able to do with you and for you?" So this is yet another example of how resonance of form and vibration of color has contributed to WIF's growth. I have to say thank you to the sponsors who made that event possible. There were many, many other additional private donors, but these are our corporate sponsors who helped us to make resonance of form and vibration of color happen. And I have to thank Laurent Chocot, the woman on the right. She's the curator of the show, and we're working together still in this late stage of 2018 to put together a proposal that will allow us to take resonance of form from France to the United States. And Professor Brian Carter was hoping to call in today. He is the man at the right in this picture. He is the professor from the University of Arizona who brought the University of Arizona kids here to do the augmented reality project for the Resonance of Form and Vibration of Color exhibition. And so you see all the students there, and you see me in the middle, sort of squatting down. And the young woman who's standing next to me, or sort of squatting next to me with the glasses, so front, right, and squatting, she graduated from University of Arizona and is getting ready to pursue graduate work in nursing. And I am mentoring her. So one of the things that WIF does through our strategic focus areas is to help young women, and particularly women of color, who want to go into life science professions, and that is precisely what Andy Garcia Brown is doing. And so I am mentoring her, and she's absolutely a phenomenal individual. And I know that she'll go far in life science. I know that she's going to be a fantastic nurse, and there are going to be so many people moved by and helped by her work. So then going on to women's empowerment. the work that WIF does with women of color, women in general, and women of color who are going into STEM or STEAM professions, is also part of our women's empowerment mission. And I mentioned a little bit earlier, I think, maybe I'm mixing up my conversations. I think I mentioned earlier that we're doing an International Women's Day event in Paris in 2019 called A Successful Woman. This is the banner for it. When you go to the website, this is what you'll see. There are a couple of people that I need to thank for that. I did mention it because Nicole Matusinek is organizing this. Just forgive me, I've just had so many conferences today. I don't know what I've said to whom anymore. Nicole is doing a fantastic job of organizing the Successful Woman. We have certainly our venue, which is the Park Hyatt, a fabulous place. She was instrumental in getting our networking and cultural event booked at the Yves Saint Laurent Museum for the first night of the exhibition, for the conference. And there's another woman who I want to mention who I did not have time to put her photo in this little slide presentation, but her name is Donnie Below. And she has organized the post-conference tour package called Wonderful Women's Weekend. And so everyone who wishes to go forward out of the conference and continue the momentum that is going to be built during the conference and nurture the relationships that will be formed during the conference can do so during the Wonderful Women's Weekend. So I have to say thank you to Donnie for organizing that for us. And it's just going to be a phenomenal event. Deb was talking earlier about her passion for reading, and Ava, her daughter's passion for reading. WIF does have a literacy initiative called Reading Never Stops. And we're really focusing primarily on Houston, Texas for that. Houston is my hometown. And we, in 2017, we launched our literacy initiative at the Johnson branch of the Houston Public Library, which is the branch where I grew up reading. We had an all-day read-a-thon called People in Pajamas, and it was fantastic. We had 14 adults come out throughout the course of the day to read to the children in the room. And we had different categories of books that we were going to read, different subjects, 6 in all over the course of the day. There was a lunch served, there were morning refreshments and afternoon refreshments as well. And there were people from the library, obviously, who came out to staff this, but we had a large number of volunteers from the community come out to read to kids. And for every 2-hour session of reading, the children were allowed to pick 2 books from a big collection that they were allowed to take home to either start or build a home library. So this is something that is very, very near and dear to my heart. So many of the children who would go to the Johnson branch do not have this opportunity. This is the Johnson branch is in a very large and underserved area of Houston, South Houston. A lot of these kids may have never even gone to the library before. So this was a way to show to the community that the library is a fun place to spend time. You can take books home from the library, either borrowing or when you attend an event such as ours, you can actually keep the books. And it was a way to bring families together too, because there were quite a few parents who came out to listen to us read. They didn't read themselves, but they came out with their kids and they listened to us read. And so we're also hoping to encourage parents to read to their children at home. This is so, so important, particularly for these years, kindergarten through grade 3. It is so, so important that children not only get to understand that reading is something important, but it's also a way to bring the family together. When parents read to their children, it's a way to bring the family together. It's a family bond, and it is reinforcing the importance of reading and hopefully engendering a love of reading for these kids. So Reading Never Stops was going to be a 24-hour readathon this year, but unfortunately we had the, how shall I say, we had the infinite wisdom of Mother Nature, who said, okay, we're not going to have Reading Never Stops this year because we're going to have Hurricane Harvey instead. And Hurricane Harvey swept through Houston. Houston was devastated by the hurricane. The Johnson branch still has not been repaired as a result of the damage done through Hurricane Harvey. And there are many other branches in the Houston Public Library system that are still actually not even open. Johnson branch is functional, but the room where we would have had our 24-hour readathon is not functional. It is not ready for use yet. So we postponed this whole thing to 2019. We're going to do another People in Pajamas, which will be just a one-day, not a 24-hour, but just really actually more a half a day readathon, because the city of Houston is still reeling from the financial devastation of Hurricane Harvey. There's been a lot done, but there's a lot still that remains to be done. And so we're going to do a reduced scale version of People in Pajamas, and hopefully we'll be able to do the 24-hour readathon in the future. In the interim, WIF has taken a decision to just name our entire literacy initiative Reading Never Stops, which I think is perfectly appropriate. And so we're going to be doing some other great things. We've identified a Boys and Girls Club in Houston that we're talking to about doing a book drive for their library. They actually have a newly renovated space, but their library books are actually quite old. And so we're looking at putting together a book drive to help them. And there'll be more about that to come in future months. Lastly, but not leastly, if people can say that.
I think they can because you just did.
Oh, yes, okay. So I have to thank our volunteers.
Yay, volunteers, we love you.
Yes, we love you, volunteers. So there are a couple of people whose pictures I have to share. This young woman is Kaylin Young. She is a chemical engineer based in Houston. She has done some phenomenal things over the course of her relatively short career. She is also a supporter of travel and study abroad, particularly for university students who are going to historically Black colleges and universities. And Kaylin is the brains behind our WIF's first dedicated STEAM initiative, and it's called Future Innovators. And you see the logo on the right there. She conceived of a career exploration table, which is where we would have kids come out and do various, like play games and do quizzes and things. And then based upon what they had an affinity for, these children have an affinity for, they would go over to this career exploration table and look at all the different kinds of careers in STEM and STEAM that they might not have ever heard of. And then just based on what they've experienced during that particular day, say, oh, I didn't know that this job existed. Maybe I want to investigate that. And then at the end of the day, or whatever period of time they spent at the career exploration table at the event, they would get their photograph taken with a Polaroid. And so if they had a chance to create, for example, like a gumdrop structure or something, they could have their picture taken with that. We also had an art table so that they could draw how they saw themselves in their potential career, and they could have their photograph taken with that piece of art if they liked. So it was just a fantastic day. We partnered with the Children's Museum of Houston for that, and it was absolutely splendid. We also had the added bonus of being able to work with volunteers that go to the museum because they're interested in STEM. And this is an organization called Teach Houston. The students are University of Houston education majors. And they helped us with our first Future Innovators Career Exploration Day, and they were absolutely phenomenal. So I'm going to be looking to work with Teach Houston on some other things as well.
Love it.
Yeah. These are a couple of our other Houston volunteers, Sheree Parnell and Linda Cabral. Sheree actually came out last year, and she was one of the readers at the People in Pajamas event. She brought her nephew to the library, and she read a book to all the children there. We have, she's still a volunteer in spirit, but she recently moved to China. And so she's not in Houston anymore, but she is definitely with us in spirit, and she is in communication with us. She actually was one of the people who, during the Giving Tuesday Benevity Twitter campaign, she was one of the first people to tweet on our behalf. And Linda Cabral is an educator in the Houston Independent School District system. She is a coordinator of magnet schools. She is also passionate about literacy. And I have to mention Vanessa Holm. I don't have a picture of Vanessa, but she is also based in Houston, and she is also interested in literacy. And she is part of the Legacy Circle of Donors. So then moving to another area of volunteer work, we have this happy young man who is sitting next to me. We met for the first time in Houston when I was in Houston for the Future Innovators STEAM event. His name is Steven Starasto. Steven is a volunteer. He's a distant volunteer in the sense that he doesn't live in Houston. He lives now in Austin, but when we met, he was living in South Carolina. And he is helping out with the Successful Woman event. He has put together several databases of successful women who might be interested in attending our conference, and also women who work for companies that might be interested in sponsoring our conference. And he is also our point person for the live stream that we're going to be doing for the morning sessions of the Successful Woman. Stephen he's scouting the best platform for us. He's looking at the best equipment for us to use. And so he's been volunteering for us for a couple of years, an absolutely wonderful person. And he drove from Austin to Houston to meet me when I went to Houston in September. So big thanks to Stephen. Yeah, and you see us sitting at a restaurant where we're actually eventually going to be doing a fundraiser in Houston. It's called Avondale Food and Wine, and it's actually a French-inspired restaurant. So yeah, it's lovely. And then I just want to, this is the last thing I want to say, and we're just right at the hour mark. These are other volunteers who have helped us on various things over the course of this year. I mentioned Catch a Fire. Catch a Fire is a social enterprise that actually makes its whole purpose is to put together a volunteer base, a volunteer, it's like a stable, if you will. I don't like that word really, but I can't find the one I'm looking for. But it's just a huge number of volunteers who are in a database. And so if you have a need for a volunteer for anything that your nonprofit, whether it's advice on how to set up a budget or how to create a new board or whatever, you go to Catch a Fire and you put out there that you have this project, and a volunteer will read it and say, okay, I want to volunteer for that. And so then you have a little interview, and if you like the volunteer, you go forward, and if you don't, you can just go through until you find a volunteer that you're happy with. And Catch a Fire has given us many volunteers. Kimberly Lane, who I mentioned earlier as the web designer for the Successful Woman's web pages, she's a Catch a Fire volunteer. Stephen is a Catch a Fire volunteer. Dave Cordova, who designed WIF's basic logo, and he designed the Future Innovators logo, And the banner that we use for our letterhead and those types of things, Catch a Fire Volunteer. Amal Tembe volunteered to speak with us about sponsorship solicitation for the Successful Woman, Catch a Fire Volunteer. Hoda Schubert, a graphic designer, she put together our 2017 annual report. Beautiful, 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 beautifully illustrated, interactive, so you can click on things. You know, she's the one who came up with that idea, and it was just fantastic. Catch a Fire Volunteer. Gwendolyn Wood, who is working on the fact sheet about elementary school education and study abroad, and also learning a second language as an elementary school age child. Catch a Fire Volunteer. Our latest volunteer, who is really, really fresh and has not had the opportunity to work with us yet, is Alicia Guerrero, and she is actually in Houston, so she is our newest Houston-based volunteer. So for everyone, all the people who I've mentioned, and everyone who has had the opportunity to join this call and chat with us, and for everyone who has not had the opportunity but who wanted to be here, there are several people who had intended to call in, but for whatever reason have not been able to. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you have done with us, for us, and let's go onward and upward together. Thank you.